What do you do when you have to defend the indefensible?
Power 1, power 2, power many.
You attack. If the Acolyte has shown us one thing, it's that the media is full of extreme, fringe, rabid lunatics.
Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic have dubbed the show lore-breaking. Their commentary isn't productive. Rather, it encourages bigotry and hatred over a show that's just getting started.
They're people that have built their castles on sand, and the tide's coming in, and are left with no other choice than to blame the ocean, rather than their own stupid decisions. The more this goes on, the more it seems like they know they don't have a leg to stand on. Even that previous Looper video, desperate to come after Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic, 2 sentences later goes, oh, by the way, they are correct though.
In particular, episode 3 has proven to be controversial, and perhaps rightfully so.
Oh, look, they've got all these problems. They do keep talking sense. Yeah, that is an issue with my theory, isn't it? And Forbes from Paul Tassi never saw a boot he didn't want to lick. The kind of person that dreams about going to TwitchCon to get stood on, whose argument to defend the Acolyte has been reduced to, well, it's barely gotten started.
Over a show that's just getting started.
There's just 3 episodes. He is literally the meme, trousers round his ankles, squatting over your dinner plate, going, how do you know it's gonna be crap? It's not even out yet. It's like, dude, I could see the pissing sweet corn. And while I spoke before about how a lot of them seem to enjoy pissing people off, they get more enjoyment out of other people being upset with the show than they do the show themselves. These tend to have an element of comedy about them. There's laughter. They're having a good time. It's going to excite the Star Wars fan base because they're going to cry. And laughter, they're so upset by this. That seems to be a very different attitude than you get from Looper.
Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic, as always, rage bait and review bombings distract from actual criticism.
Looper wasn't having a very good time. It came across as angry, as spiteful, as how dare you do this?
Some audience members have issues with the show's diversity and LGBTQ+ themes, and those should be dismissed.
I mean, they even admit that they're correct immediately afterwards.
However, viewers should genuinely examine the legitimate criticisms the Acolyte has received.
So it's not criticizing the show that Looper seems to have problems with. It must be something else, either how you're criticizing it, the effect that you're having, or what specifically you're pointing out. Oh, you can criticize it, but not that though. No, not that bit. That bit's important to me.
Some audience members have issues with themes, and those should be dismissed.
And even Paul Tassi, in an article which is the intellectual equivalent of crapping in your own hand, just because that steak was so nice you'd like to eat it twice,
their commentary isn't productive.
Has to admit, I'm not even the Acolyte's biggest fan. I didn't even love the first 2 episodes. It's not that they're defending the Acolyte as good. They're defending why other people think it's bad. You can critique the show, sure, but not like this. Not to this degree. It's not that he thinks the criticism is wrong. It's that you're not allowed to do it.
As always, rage bait and review bombings distract from actual criticism.
And I think it's because both sides are looking at this from 2 very different perspectives. As we can see Nerdrotic's position in his own post when he calls out the video. Why did you delete your post of our reviews of a poorly written streaming TV show? To him, it's just a piece of entertainment. It's done really badly. Does that warrant such a severe response from Looper, though? Which comes across almost instinctual. It's very defensive. It's like an immune response to an attack.
Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic, their commentary isn't productive, distract from actual criticism.
And I think it is. To normal people, The Acolyte is just a piece of entertainment. It's a TV show. But that's not what it was intended to be. It's not what it was created to be. Amandla has been absolutely rabid about fixing the representation issue in Hollywood for years now. This article is from 2016. And there are almost limitless supply of interviews of her talking about the same thing. And The Acolyte was specifically developed for her to be the main character. Even before she was asked to star in it herself, Leslie Headland created the entire thing with the intention of trying to get her into the role.
Leslie and Lucasfilm had already developed the show around me before I even had my first meeting.
And the High Republic, from the beginning, from its very brainstorming sessions, were intended to push representation and diversity as core values right from the start. It was peak Hollywood. This meant to everyone on the creator side, it wasn't just a piece of media. To fans of those ideas, it wasn't just a piece of media. This was a creation of their values, of their morality. This was a product that sprung from the foundations of them as a person. It's a symbol of how they think the world should be. And it was crap. But that doesn't matter anymore, because now it's a symbol of everything you stand for. And people are taking the piss out of it. Now to them, they're just taking the piss out of TV, but to you, they're taking the piss out of you, your ideology, everything that you are as a person. They've taken on a political idea as a personality, as an identity.
It doesn't even feel particularly queer to me, it just feels natural. This is the world.
And so when your values are critiqued, so are you. And so to Gary, he's just talking about a poorly written TV show. But to them, you're laughing at the very foundations of their worldview. It's why they always ignore the comments about the writing. You're not critiquing the writing. When you're laughing at the symbol of their value system, it feels like a personal attack. And that's why, like, you can't easily defend this, as if anyone even needs an excuse. Why would I need an excuse to explain away a critique of a TV show? That seems really stupid in the first place. This really is a who do you think you are moment. But he feels like you do need an excuse, like you have to explain yourself. You're standing against everything that's good and moral in the world. How could you even justify that position? It doesn't make sense if it's just a TV show, but it does if it's a worldview, if it's an ideology, and that's why they have to go dead set on hating the show from this, because this picture is the product of that idea. These people weren't hired because they were the best actors and actresses. They were hired because they were the best symbols of the value system. These are the products of those beliefs. This is what they think the world should look like.
Twitter might kick off, and in dark little corners people might argue, but that's not the real world.
And no one is a better symbol of it than Amanda Stenberg and her various deranged interviews. Not, this is the best Star Wars project ever. No, it's just the most diverse. The Acolyte isn't just a TV show. It's a symbol and a product of the current dominant social order. And if you critique it, if you point and laugh, then you're also laughing at everyone that believes it. You're pointing out the Emperor has no clothes, and they can't stand it. They put in a lot of work to believe such a farcical ideology in the first place, and you're laughing at them. This is the best thing that they can create. It's the most thing that Star Wars has ever created, and you're laughing at it. You're laughing at them. It's how you get articles like The Acolyte is everything Star Wars should be. Far better than the prequels. No, this redefines the very standards by which we define what makes Star Wars so good in the first place.
The hot white guy.
It may be the last series in that presentation to come to fruition, but it's the start of a new Star Wars era that's more than welcome. Because the old ways of judging quality is wrong. We're moving into a new era where we've redefined how you should judge things, how you are allowed to criticize something. We've moved away from the masculine values of things like sacrifice and heroism into where everyone's equal. All values are equal. And so things aren't good because of what they do anymore. They're good because of who they are. And so you definitely can't criticize that. That's where you get Looper going, oh, don't listen to these people. They're critiquing it the wrong way. Because sure, yes, there's things you can talk about, but don't talk about what we want. Don't talk about what we value. Don't talk about the core things that make this the symbol of what we believe.
As always, rage bait and review bombings distract from actual criticism, and those should be dismissed.
Talk about the peripheries, the edge cases, the things that don't matter that much, but don't point out any of the real problems of the show. Don't talk about anything that I care about. Just don't laugh at what I value. The result of this is they have to reach for excuses, because if they were honest with you, you'd laugh at them even more. It's why you have the idea of, oh no, you have to explain away your problems. It's like, do I? Or is it actually perfectly sensible and reasonable that a male-dominated audience should be represented in their media, with the women looking how the men want, and the men acting like masculine heroes to masculine values? That seems fair and reasonable. But Paul Tassi has a problem. If this show is a symbol of an ideology, and only 15% of the audience likes it, maybe these ideas aren't popular in the country in the first place. Maybe it's not the dominant social order. Maybe everyone despises them. Maybe he's chose the wrong side. That's why when he's going 33%, 15, this is absurd. No, I'm not going to entertain a debate that this isn't review bombing. How could I ever believe that so many people despise what I believe in? If you're a weak-willed coward, you won't even think for yourself. All you'll look for is whatever is the dominant belief in society, and convince yourself of that. I need to gain status and power by virtue signaling that I also agree with the dominant belief system. And if you're in somewhere like Hollywood or California, obviously you're going to have a very skewed system. Everyone around you believes the same thing.
It just feels natural. This is the world.
So of course this is the dominant one. This must be. I can't physically believe that this many people disagree with this new symbol of society. How could they? I can't entertain that. I won't entertain that. It means that all my virtue signaling would be going to waste. And so it reacts as if it's a personal attack. It's happening too fast. Too many people are disliking it. Surely we could shut them up. Captain Marvel verified people. Can't we hide this in some way? Can't we make it seem like somehow I'm the one in the majority? It's not about whether these people are objectively correct. It's not about whether the Acolyte is awful. How can we silence them? How can we make it seem like I'm in the majority? Surely I couldn't have made a mistake. It's like, why is this happening? Surely there's a bunch of dimensions. I mean, obviously this is about the things that I care about. Then he talks about a clip from Amanda Stenberg where she was basically a discriminatory bigot. But he's like, no, don't criticize reality. agree. He actually just describes this as a thing that happened in a tone that implies it's bad, but can't actually say it's bad because it genuinely happened. But this is the foundation of the belief system, so how dare you criticize that? And also allegedly breaking canon, and I have to say his excuse about this is 24 karat gold. Oh, well, some people are breaking canon. The main reason for this is episode 3. The problem is, we don't know if this is true, because it wasn't spelled out to him in the show, because he wasn't spoon-fed, because he's too thick to understand the episode as it happened. No, you can't say it, because they didn't say it specifically, did they?
I carried them. I created them.
When I point out in reviews, they've now said the same thing 3 times because they think the audience is too thick to understand actually just saying something in a show. It's Paul Tassi! And we know that's him arriving because the doctor tells us.
That's me.
Thanks for that, mate. He is the moron that those things are written for, where you have to say the same thing 3 times in different ways so we go, oh, so you have told me. Paul, there are such things as implication.
I carried them. I created them.
Not that I believe he's genuinely that stupid. No, I just think he's using it as an excuse. Oh, well, I found a little crack that I can try and force open. I can add a layer of obfuscation to go, well, you can't say it because it wasn't definitely confirmed. When everybody knows how language works. He's just relying on people not having a spine enough to call him out on it. Even if that's what everyone is assuming last week. Well, I tell you what, Paul. If everybody is under the same impression, then if they're wrong, at best, the writer is a pissing moron. I'm really not sure how much you're helping your case here. It may not be a spontaneous force baby situation. What if it's just dark side meddling or magic? You've just suggested 2 things which are literally what everybody is talking about.
I carried them. I created them.
Maybe I need to rethink that stupidity angle, eh? Then they have a problem that we're portraying the Jedi as evil, because one of the foundational principles of their ideas is that everybody's the same, no one's good and evil. No, remember, you're not doing anything wrong, you're just oppressed. That means you can do anything. Is that person evil? Well, why don't you describe to me all their categories, and then I'll tell you whether they're justified afterwards. The 15% score is embarrassing. Not for the show, but for those who are reviewing it to a frankly laughable degree. Because I have no actual criticism of the reviews, I can't defend the show. There's nothing about it which is good for me to point out, and so I'm going to use the only thing I can. Shame. I'm going to try and gaslight you to rely on your lack of spine. I'm going to try and make out that you're actually not the majority. You're just a really loud minor voice so that I can feel as if I'm correct and surrounded by everybody. I'm reinforcing the dominant ideology, and I'm going to do that by trying to silence you, to shame you, to make you think as if you're alone so you'll shut up. That's why Lupo was targeted in their accusations. That's why they chose Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker specifically, because those are the 2 biggest channels in the space. They're too good, too loud, they have too many viewers, and they are actively disproving that this is just a few people, a really loud but small part of the fandom. They are living proof that Disney has messed up just by their view counts alone, and their competition to people like Lupo. It's an attempt to paint a target on their back to knock out a competitor, and to reduce the volume and centralization of the audience, because the more people that gather in one place, the more difficult it is to criticize them, as you do hit a critical mass. If such a large percentage of the audience thinks this way, then Disney by definition is making a mistake, and they can't justify their choices to the shareholders. They have a legal obligation to the shareholders to give the audience what they want, and so it doesn't matter if Disney dislikes the audience, they are obligated to provide it to them. That's why it's like, I don't mind some people disagreeing with it, I don't mind if we just attack the periphery, but don't attack the core of the show, don't attack why it was made.
Some audience members have issues with themes, and those should be dismissed.
Don't point out that we're not making entertainment for entertainment's sake. Don't talk about how this is just a symbol of our ideology. Don't talk about how we've made this to push an idea on people, as then it'll lose its impact. This whole situation is a parody of the modern toxic fan base of the series. If you think that you have a toxic fan base, you are legally obligated to provide them what they want. Otherwise, you are making shows for people that don't watch your shows. And that goes against your fiduciary duty to shareholders. And if you want to disguise it as being upset at canon, I don't know, Paul, why are you supporting a TV show which supports cultural debasement as entertainment? Shows a distinct lack of understanding the material and the wider universe.
Come.
Because I'm intellectually superior to you, I have managed to look on the dominant social order and convince myself that it's correct. You can't even do that, you peasant.
You are poor, so you will like this.
Sheer f***ing hubris.
That's, I think, why he has a problem with so many people disagreeing with him. His views are not even the majority, which means they would lose all their power. All the effort to go along with them would have been wasted. You just don't understand this stuff. You're too stupid. You're not intellectual like me. I do love how we're throwing, like, everything at the wall to try and make people feel insecure, but I think we're getting really desperate when someone's supposed to be intellectually intimidated by Paul Tassi.
That's not the real world.
You just can't comprehend Star Wars. I mean, it's so complicated. You can critique the show, sure. You can talk about the things that I'll allow you to talk about, but that's not what's going on here. It goes beyond that. Now we're critiquing the ideas of it, the foundations of it. Now we're critiquing the worldview, the reasons why it was made. Now you're critiquing the ideology that made it. You can't have that.
As always, rage bait and review bombings distract from actual criticism.
While we've seen many things like this in the Star Wars fandom over the years, I can't help but feel like it's getting worse. More and more people are standing up. The old tactics don't work anymore. Shame and humiliation, gaslighting people that they're just a small number of them.
Reviewers should genuinely examine the legitimate criticisms the Acolyte has received. Cultural critics like the Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic should be dismissed.
It's not working anymore. It turns out that what we kept writing off as a small group of people, actually, well, it's the audience. And the more voices line up against this, the more doubt I have that maybe I don't have the popular beliefs in society after all. Maybe I was just in a bubble, and that isn't just the critique of an entertainment show. That makes them doubt the very value system that they hold dear, as they only have it because they thought it was popular in the first place, because it made them feel better and superior to everybody else that didn't believe it.
Simply write quite naturally. I don't think about it that much. That is my world, and I'm trusted by my bosses to put my world and to put my writing on screen, so I confidently do.
It was all fun and games when I was insulting everybody as bigots and everything else, when I thought there was just a few of them, when I thought that everyone else was on my side. But I can't handle it when there's this many people doing it, when it's happening at this speed. How come our old tactics of just banning these people and silencing them doesn't work anymore? Is there really so many people that it's overwhelming our systems? It doesn't make sense why the Acolyte had more money than Kenobi. Kenobi had bigger people in it. It could have got a better audience. It had bigger names. It could have attracted more people. But if you look at them not as pieces of entertainment, but products that push ideas, well, the Acolyte is definitely a stronger force there. It was made to be the example of this. This is the best product that we can make from this value system. Of course they're taking it personally. We threw everything at this. We threw all the money at this. It was made specifically for the person who has been pushing this for at least 8 years. The Star Wars channel went all in on this show and Amandla. Cast interviews, product unboxing. For literally weeks, it's all they're talking about. They threw everything at it, $180 million, because this was the symbol, the peak of what they can create. This is the future. And what did you get? Laughter. Both in the show and out of it. The Acolyte's new song takes Star Wars into its R&B era. Absolutely nothing to do with Star Wars at all. You go and listen to the song, like, what on earth is that mess? What? How was that Star Wars? And they came at it to destroy the past, the old social order, masculinity, and impose the new one, and do that with the worst idea that everybody is exactly the same. They had a problem with Master Sol going, I knew I was different from my family. The Jedi saw how special I was. Can't say you're special. You can't say you're different, unique, or better. Even if you're a pissing Jedi who's magic. No, you're the same as everybody else. The Jedi saw their connection to the Force as special. How can they possibly serve them fairly and effectively? I mean, this is basically a statement from somebody who's evil. The only way they can behave in a decent manner to anybody is if they see themselves as the same. If they thought they were better than somebody, they would just immediately crush them. It says more about them than anybody else. Everyone else is like, yeah, just because I'm better at something than you are doesn't mean I have to make your life a living hell, but it does under their worldview, because they know they couldn't resist.
We've got all that power, but there is a way to get rid of it. Something a male-presenting Time Lord will never understand.
So instead, they have to come up with stupid reasons that if the Jedi view their connection to the Force and role as a Jedi as special, when compared to other beings, they are special, they're pissing magic, how can they possibly serve them? Pride in one's abilities can easily become something more sinister. Yeah, if you're a pissing Sith.
Yes, we know.
We know everything. Thanks.
And you know nothing.
If you're evil, you behave in evil ways. If you're a Jedi and good, you behave in good ways. Welcome, Screen Rant, to the foundation of morality. Of course, Jedi are special. They're pissing magic. And so, all they have left is reaching. Poor excuses. Star Wars fans have been review bombing the wrong movie. So 2 things were called similar things and they just put their score on the wrong one. Now that's review bombing. Instead of giving their opinion. Because it can't be their opinion, can it? Because you see, your opinion, it's not as good as theirs. It's not like the critics. It's not like journalists. Your opinion isn't as valuable as theirs. You see, they're special. That's why their reviews are reviews. They're criticizing something. They're professionals.
Reviewers should genuinely examine the legitimate criticisms the Acolyte has received.
But the review from a mere pleb, that's review bombing. You've disagreed with the ideological betters.
As always, rage bait and review bombings distract from actual criticism.
With a mob of revolting peasants.
And that means everyone else's opinions is worthless. Would you become part of the intellectual elite? Maybe we'll care about you, okay? As ever, many of these articles, like the special Screen Rant one, simply describes their worldview more than anybody else's. And let's face it, with headlines like this from IndieWire, where they call the unusual space witches a thrilling development. Oh, we've made this for 0.2% of the population.
It just feels natural. This is the world.
Hang on, why is our show not popular? The lack of self-awareness becomes almost impressive. But they don't believe any of this stuff because they thought about it. They didn't analyze the ideas and go, no, I think that's objectively correct. Instead, they just looked around their own bubble, saw what everyone else believed in that bubble, and believed it as well. The reason the NPC meme took off so quickly is because everybody realized it was true. And now we've committed for too long. We have to defend this stuff, no matter how farcical it is. Our only option is to attack the fans. You must be wrong, because if you're not, then I am. And if I'm wrong, then I chose poorly in believing this societal belief. The position I took to get status and power over other people was actually badly placed, and I have none. It means that rather than being part of the journalistic elite, actually I'm the figure of fun. Actually, people are laughing at me. Actually, should be embarrassed and ashamed to have ever worked on this stuff in the first place. And so just to preserve my own fragile ego, I can't be the one that's correct. It has to be everybody else. And it's why so many people keep doubling down, no matter how farcical their position becomes. And why I don't think these people or Hollywood will ever be able to turn it around, because it means that everything they have rabidly defended and said and believed for years is wrong and evil. And in an industry driven by ego and status, I'm not sure how you swallow that, let alone come back from it. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe more videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.